My guests today are Megan Brown and Shekina Rose, and they might look familiar to you because recently they've been on the show to talk about their near-death experiences. Megan had an incredible, detailed near-death experience that was so much information we had to do it in 2 sessions. She had this amazing experience at the table with all of these ascended masters who each gave her a message, and she had some incredible experiences in heaven. Shekina had her own experience where she went to the sun and she became a frequency, and she came back with a special gift in her voice that sends out healing frequencies to the world. She is now extremely sensitive. Both of these women changed everything about their lives after their near-death experiences, and they both live in Sedona, Arizona. They've been friends for 6 years and been meeting weekly for a really long time because it takes so much to integrate these sessions. And we decided to come together today to have an amazing collective, collaborative consciousness experience. So we're really excited to share this with you, and you're going to be a fly on the wall to what we're going to talk about. And I really hope and encourage everybody to participate in the comments. And it's just going to be an amazing awakening conversation. So welcome, Megan, and welcome, Shekina.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So you each had your near-death experience, and the video got released. Both of your videos went to a lot of people. You both participated in the comments. What do you feel was the most common piece of feedback that you each got from your video interview that we did? Megan, I'll let you go first.
Okay, it depends on the individual. So some individuals were really grateful and they were thankful that I shared the story. Others, not so much, and they weren't buying it. It's like it didn't resonate with them, which is understandable because I'm talking about things that are not, we weren't taught that they go together. Or I wasn't. Okay. But looking at the comments, I'm thinking, well, there's a lot of people that weren't raised that way to believe that all of these souls are following the same thing, you know? So I think it just depended on the person. But I was very appreciative of everybody giving their response, everybody who took the time to put that energy in, because it means that whatever they needed from it, they received. And nothing is a negative. So I'm just grateful that they did that, because the energy exchange is so powerful. And I believe that as a result of my NDE overall, that I have a responsibility, as do we all, but I feel now in my life that I have a responsibility to bring around a new way of at least thinking, or opening a door for people to rethink how they've been, programmed to think previously. So
That's amazing. And I also want to say, I think when a video really, really takes off and resonates, it says a lot, whether people agreed with it or I always tell people, take in what resonates, leave behind what doesn't. It may not be for you right now, but I think that we can all think about concepts that used to be like, oh, that doesn't seem right. I'm not into that. And then like 5 years later, you're like, yeah, of course that's true. So I think we do ebb and grow and change over the course of our spiritual awakening. And we sometimes are exposed to a concept and we're not ready for it. But that doesn't mean that it didn't open a door so that we can maybe explore it a little bit more later. So even though people may have said it didn't resonate, you have no idea what that's setting up for them in the future.
absolutely. And, even from my NDE, when God said to me, acceptance is synonymous with love, that took on a whole new meaning years after my NDE. So some of what they were saying developed more based upon, how life happens, right? You just go through life, and like you're saying, you learn more, you evolve as an individual. So whether you want to look at that as a spiritual evolution or not, you're constantly shifting and changing. So yeah, I've developed different ways of viewing the information now. And some of it's still the same. I mean, I can't get it out of my head, but it's like, wow, it's processing. I feel like I've just been processing for years since it happened.
I'm sure. I can't imagine so much. Well, Shekina, your NDE really touched me. It was probably one of the most unique that I've heard. And I don't know if it was the actual experience that touched me or how you had to integrate it and how you changed everything and learning about how sensitive your body became to frequencies, to sound, to food, to crystals, which we're going to talk about later. But I really thought your NDE was such a profoundly beautiful experience. And I just could not get it out of my head for days and days after.
I appreciate that. And I feel that it's what you were saying before. It's just like where we're at, and I feel Megan and I feel most of the beings that go to the other side and come back. I feel we have a responsibility now and an obligation to in some way to share, because we're different after that happens, and we do have a connection. And that's why I really wanted to connect with, Megan. And I know Megan for a while now, and so I know what it's like to come together and to connect with heaven and the light. And it's amazing. And when you have someone who has connected in that way, they have that signature vibration within them now. They have that way. It's just the way that it is. That's why a lot of people have gone to gurus and different things like that, ascended people, because they have the doorway. They've been there, and they just have the connection, and we're just here to share that connection. We're just here to share that doorway. And because I didn't go to heaven, but I went to the light. But because Megan and I came together and did these prayers and did these connections, I was able to experience heaven. Because I say I've coined Megan as a heaven's ambassador.
I know. I love it that you call her that.
Because I've experienced this. I didn't experience that. And after connecting with her, and in that way, I got to experience heaven. I got to experience that energy and that light. And of course, when we come together and bring this forth, there's a lot that happens. We're bringing both of those doorways of that frequencies here, out to the group or to, the individual. So yes, I feel like, there's we went to the light, we went to heaven, and we came back. And this is happening more and more and more. And I believe, Megan, we've talked about that a little bit, that this is like really important, and that we're sharing this. And that's why we, felt compelled as well to actually have a group in person, so people can actually, experience the energy, together. So
I want to highly recommend that experience if somebody's in the Sedona area, because I got to meet both of you, got to be in your presence, and we had this incredible session. And Megan, you shared so much about not only heaven, but you now connect to a lot of the beings and you talk to the angels and you get messages. You're a medium or a psychic medium, however you'd like to whatever term makes sense and resonates with you. But you were giving beautiful, beautiful messages to people in the room. And then Shekina, I love that you started out by saying, well, I really don't have that good a voice. And she started singing. I'm like, she's like a professional singer. Your voice is angelic and it's just gorgeous. And to be there in person and feel the vibration of that, like it was a magnificent experience and I can't wait to do it again.
That's so awesome.
Thank you for that. It's interesting that you said that because when I came back, I was immersed in the angelic energy. So the frequencies that come through me, I feel, are through the angelic realm. So it's interesting that you share that. I don't know if I've actually said that, but yeah.
Well, I love that you said it just now. Well, since we're talking about frequency, we had a very interesting conversation in the interview that you and I did, but I don't know if we had this on camera or if we talked about it afterwards. But you shared some information about crystals. And I was telling you both that I've had a crystal obsession for a really, really long time. I don't know why I've been drawn to crystals. I don't feel frequencies the way that you do, but on some level, I must because I have a crystal within a crystal necklace that I wear all of the time. And I'm surrounded by rocks. I'm a rock person. I have heart rocks everywhere. Some of them have druzy and and I've got a gorgeous piece of artwork that has all these semi-precious stones that are formed into a tree. And there's definitely resonance frequencies, and I'm aware of that, but I don't feel them on the level that you do. But yet I've surrounded myself in my home with them. So will you explain on a level that people might be able to understand what these crystals actually are, Shekina?
Their consciousness, they're conscious connectors, they're amplifiers. They have particular resonancy, they have particular frequencies. They work with our electrical magnetic body and our energy. They work with us on subtle levels. They work with us on the different aura sensory levels. So it was interesting when you were saying and that you are not as so sensitive to the crystal. Well, you are. It's just that you're sensing them in this particular way. So I just happen to be one of my clairs that's really open is I'm really clairaudient. And it's kind of always been like that. So I can hear well. So I'm able to a lot of times, hear the crystals or empathically. You're connected to the crystals as well. You're connected to the crystals on a few different levels. You're connected to them on an auric, an energy sensory level, probably empathic level. You are, just because you're not actually hearing the crystals in the way that I am, you are drawn to the crystals. And what's fabulous is that you're listening. So you're listening because you have all these crystals around you. And those crystals have a certain quality, a certain resonancy, a certain frequency that your spirit, your emotional body, your mental body, and your spiritual body is like, I want to say almost needing, or it's like it's helping the field. It's helping your whole environment actually.
Can these contribute to raising my vibrational frequency? Can it help me to anchor love into the space that I'm in? Is that some of what it's doing, do you think?
Absolutely. Yes, they're see, each one has different qualities. And so they will magnify that particular quality. Like most people know about rose quartz. And
Right. Well, the pyramids are loaded with all kinds of rose quartz.
so that energy is more love. It's a little bit softer, it's a little bit more kinder. So it's radiating that out, and it's helping you to feel that, and it's helping you to heal certain things and to feel that love, but in a more like in a more kind, like softer way. And so because each of the crystals have particular like a a job, a resonancy, a frequency, that they are emitting. The Sedona white light crystal, the singing crystals, well, they come, from the vortex. They come, so they have a certain resonancy and a frequency. They also come from the crystal city of light, which I didn't know that, Lori, until more recently, until they started singing to me again and telling me where they were out on the land. And then I realized, because I saw the crystal city of light after I came in contact with the crystals after they were singing. And what they did to me was amazing and phenomenal. So when I came in contact with these crystals, and there were like a whole bunch of them. And by the way, it's not like you can find these crystals here. You could go on the path and the hike, and you're not going to find crystals. I mean, I was on the land for a really long time. I used to spend a lot of time on the land, and I never saw crystals. And you can't go to any crystal store, and you probably know, you've been to Sedona. I don't know how many crystal stores.
A bazillion.
30? I mean, and I don't think I'm exaggerating. And
You're not.
a town of what, 10,000 people?
Yeah.
30 crystal stores. And however, you can't get a crystal. You can't get a Sedona crystal in any of those stores. However, many of us know or understand, and even the geology of this place of Sedona, that it's crystalline and that it has crystals and that it has crystals at its base. So the crystals started to an area. I was drawn to this area, and that's what happened. And we all get drawn to areas like the vortexes. Like, you probably are drawn to a vortex, whether it be Cathedral or Airport Mesa or Boynton Canyon or Thunder Mountain. These vortexes, they draw you. They draw your energy because you need to be there. And the crystals were drawing me to go to this place, and I kept going there, and eventually they started to manifest, and I heard them. I could hear them. I remember them starting to sing to me, and I would walk and walk because I could hear them. They would literally tell me where they were. I would drive to where they were, and I remember walking, and I remember stopping and out in the wild, and I said, I know you're here because I can hear you, but I can't see you. I can't see you, but I know you're here because I can hear you. And it's like a detector, like got really like loud. And then eventually they started to pop up. What I experienced with these crystals, now I spent a lot of time, years with them. What I experienced when I came in contact with the crystals is there was an energy that went through my entire body. It was like it was lighting up every cell of my body, and felt like the joy of of living that we had forgotten to be on this planet. And every time I would go with them and they would call at me and I was around them, I just would feel so good. And I would feel so uplifted. And at that time, with the crystals, when the crystals were manifesting and giving me glorious activations, which was new to me. I wasn't looking for crystals. They did a lot. They showed me a lot. But that's when I saw the Crystal City of Light. And I had never seen it before. And I had heard about it. I had heard about the Crystal City of Light. I had I had known people that had come to Sedona, had never heard about the Crystal City, and it would appear to them, and it would be very startling for them. I took a group out one time to Cathedral, where the Rose Ray is, because Mother Mary and the Rose Ray, her apparitions happened at Cathedral, the Cathedral Rock, and so I would take people to that place, and I would do anointings and connections there, and there was a group from 4 women from China, and I was taking them through, and I was showing them the activations, and one of them saw the Crystal City, and she was so startled. And I had to explain to her and kind of calm her down that it was okay. But here we are. There's 5 of us. I didn't see it then. And only after the crystal started to come to me, to sing to me, and to want to be in the sacred technologies, because did I see the Crystal City of Light? They have a mission and they have a purpose on this planet. And they're being like awakened and activated for us at this time. That's what I feel.
This is exactly why I could not stop thinking about our conversation, because I'd never heard anything like this. Megan, were you aware of this? Have you ever seen the Crystal City of Light in Sedona?
No, what's funny is Shekina is the one who told me about it. I didn't even know it existed. And I thought, well, that's interesting. But I do have something that I can share about crystals. It's different, but it's along the same lines where crystals have they're alive. Crystals are alive, and they have personalities, and they have different, like, if you hold them, they'll give you a name. And I'll tell you what happened. It was about around a year after I got out of the hospital in 2007. And I was on a computer, and I don't know, somehow, or maybe I was watching the History Channel. I can't remember how the crystal skulls came into my being. But all of a sudden, I was like, crystal skulls. Yeah, well, it was on TV. And I thought, crystal skulls, why does that sound so familiar? And so I started looking them up online, and I connected with this one crystal skull called Synergy. And I thought, whoa, what is this? Why am I being drawn to it right now? So I started reading about this crystal skull. And then, of course, I ordered a bunch of these crystal skulls that were next to Synergy. And I went into meditation, and they were saying, Megan, we've told you about the crystal skulls. And we've told you that the crystal skulls have been programmed. So I did put this in my book. There are 13 crystal skulls that the creator put on this planet and put them in different locations with 26,000 years of information in each skull. So in 2012, December 21st, 2012, people were saying, oh, this is the Mayan or whatever they were saying. And I remember meditating on it even then. And heaven was saying, well, this is when the black obsidian skull, which is in the Euphrates River, is being activated. People don't even know it's there. And so it was being activated with the 26,000 years of information. And the information is just compiled of, what's going to be taking place on this planet. So I don't remember if this, and I'd have to meditate on it, but I don't remember if this was the last crystal skull or if it, like what number it was, because most of them are clear quartz is what I got in the meditation, but this one's a black obsidian. The other thing that I'm going to point out here is when I received, I think I got 5 or 6 crystal skulls that had been sitting, come here, sorry, my dog, that had been sitting next to Synergy, and one specifically sat next to Synergy for a year. Okay, well, they all came in the mail at the same time. And when I put them around my room, it was like, okay, I'm looking at all these skulls and I'm like honoring the fact that, okay, Synergy is one of the 13 crystal skulls. And nobody knows that. I mean, whoever listens to this, if it resonates, it resonates. But that's what heaven told me. So as I had all the skulls in my room, in the middle of the night for a week, every single night, I'd be woken up to talking in different languages and overlapping one another. It was like all of these different conversations were going on. And there was all of this information coming through. And I remember laying in my bed going, what is happening? Like, I don't understand what they're saying. My soul does. But I have no idea what they're talking about. And so I knew it was huge. But, what am I going to do? So I wrote about the crystal skulls in my book, but no, they're very powerful. There's a lot of information in them. So I've heard them talk is what I'm trying to say. And then after a week, it stopped. So I guess, I graduated because she was talking about something a few moments ago, where it's like, you move into the next level almost. And I find that to be absolutely true in my experience as well as an NDEer, is that you graduate. And so there's different understandings that come, and heaven, I speak of heaven, but they've given me specific messages. And it's like, take this to the next level. Start developing this. Start focusing on this. And I just go with it, and I do. And I listen to what they say to me. But I still have this one crystal. I have multiple in my house, but there's one that holds a space that I should talk more. But every time I used to hold it right after I got it, it's the one that sat next to Synergy for a year, it would give me a headache. And it's a clear quartz crystal. And I was, oh my gosh, after 5 minutes, I would get a headache. And so I'd have to put it down. And then as the years have gone on, it doesn't even affect me. Like, I can hold it. I can still, use it to clear and talk to it. It was amazing. So I've graduated even, I guess, with that frequency is what I'm trying to say. So we can get into tune with what we're holding. So I was out of tune with it previously,
That's why you were getting the headache?
Yeah, that's what I feel.
Shekina, what are these crystals able to do? Like, so one of the reasons I love having these conversations is because you two have had this incredible experience, and then you've spent years trying to integrate it, trying to understand it, honing the abilities that come with an NDE, because there's not a single person I've ever talked to who didn't come back with some ability that they didn't have before. And now you've been working with these crystals. They talk to you, and the wisdom that you've accumulated, when you share what you've learned, the people who are watching can take that information and somehow integrate it into their own lives. So what would you tell people who are watching that they can do with crystals that would help them in some way?
They can help you to focus. A meditation is really important. You can hold a crystal. Like, I always hold the crystals when I meditate, and I put them on different places of my body. And here's one. So this is real. It's the white light crystal. And so you can hold a crystal when you meditate. It's helpful for you to meditate. You can also, there's also, just put a crystal and put your intention in it. and you can put it in your like a pocket. There's certain crystals that are protective crystals. I mean, I'm always using protective crystals around my, uh, energy, around the electronics and different things like that. Um, I don't leave, I don't leave my place ever, even to go to the gym, wherever, without my crystals. I would feel, would feel, I would feel naked. If I did. I have before, and I turn around and I'll come back. I wear them. I wear my I wear the angels, not this particular angels, but to the gym because they all have the white light crystals in them. The white light crystals have been a part of the radiant codes technologies for many, many years. So all the sacred technologies that I work with, they all have the white light crystals in them. It's just that the crystals they're wanting center stage again. And because they've evolved, they're evolving in their support and their energy out to us. And so, wearing them, so I wear them. And what this does to me is they're just extraordinary because it's interesting that I also realize so that they're part of the crystal city of light. So yes, they're going to raise your frequency vibration, but they're going to do it gently. They're also going to create gentle releases. Since I've been working with these and I meditate with them every day, I have this like gentle releases. I feel like there's times where I just feel a little like it's elated, this like joy. And sometimes there'll just be this, it's very sweet of like a release, like a clearing, but it's so gentle and it's so sweet and it's so loving. It's like an emotional release that will happen like through me. And then right after that, I'll feel that upliftment of the light. I also feel that these crystals are helping in the ascension process. They're helping with the energies in your body so that you can flow. They're helping to connect you um, with your clairs, with your spirituality, so that you can be able to see that, so that you can have a higher connection. Because I'm laying these crystals now on a person for therapy. I never did that before. I just wore them, that way and used them in the sacred technology and the radiant codes, but they showed me. And I have so many, and they've showed me where to put them on the body. So I put them on the body, and I put, the music on, and the experience is quite amazing. It's just the expansion, the light, the love, uh, and the purification because they're white. They're interesting. They're unusual. To have like white, pure like white light. What I've realized too is that I feel that they're connected to the white light. And I only recently discovered this since the second time that they're evolving and that they want to be in this beautiful therapy. So I've been putting the people and laying them on this sound technology bed of the music, of the frequencies that I sing, the Seraphim transmission, the latest CD that I have. You hear that with the crystal song, and then place the crystals, on you. And I got to tell you too, I'm really sensitive. So I can't have, I've had, therapy before from, good, really amazing practitioners here in Sedona. I cannot have any crystal on my third eye. I'm way too sensitive. And however, I got the treatment as well. Like I really wanted this treatment. I wanted to experience these crystals on me with the holy music vibrating through the bed. And so I got a treatment, and it was amazing. And there's these crystals, there's such a high frequency. They showed me which one. They're small to put on my forehead, and it was glorious. when she put the crystal, the white light crystal on my third eye, all I could say was it was glorious. My whole entire being just like lit up, transformed, transcended. So beautiful, so beautiful. And others that have been experiencing it as well have said like amazing things. And they say things like, I think I could get addicted to this. And and I said the same thing. I think I could get addicted to this. I want those crystals on me. It's just amazing. It's, you know what it is as well? You said something, Lori, about that you've connected with these crystals before. Have I connected with these crystals before? Yes. Yes. I feel that you have. I feel that you, in particular, yes, have connected with some of these crystals that you connected with before. Now remember that we're also crystalline. And
Right. In the pineal gland, right?
we are crystalline. Yes, we have the pineal gland. And so that's a crystal. There is an essence that's a part of us that we are crystal and literally are crystals. So we can connect to those. We can really connect to the crystals in that way. And then all the crystal technology in the world, you know,
I don't think computers can operate without crystals.
exactly. So they're enhancing that crystalline light essence within who we are. That's what I've experienced. And it's just, and of course, what's so beautiful about them is they're singers. I call them the white light vortex singing crystals because they sing. They have a residency, and Megan pointed that out as well, that they're a being. They are. Each configuration of them is a being, and they can speak to you. Now, the crystals, the white light crystals that I've experienced, they sing. That's how I found them, is they sing a particular resonancy, but then a lot of times, like each one will have a particular, like this one has like it has a song. It has a name, like Megan was pointing out about that.
You're incredible. I'm glad I asked that because I think that there's a lot of information and I want to share something that I learned recently. So on my show, I've been talking a little bit about the telepathy tapes. They came out this year and they're a series of podcasts on YouTube and Spotify and different platforms where a woman and a doctor, Harvard trained doctor, have uncovered that these autistic non-speaking children are telepathic. And they have learned to use a machine called a speller that allows them to type out words, and that's how they've discovered that they're reading the thoughts of their mothers and their siblings and their friends. And one of the boys was at school and his mother had gone to get a massage, and they were some type of a Christian belief where crystals are kind of like frowned upon. They're not looked at as godly, and it's just not their thing. But this woman had received 3 crystals from the woman who performed the massage on her, and she said, take them home. And she was like, okay, I guess I'll throw them away when I get home. But she had them in her purse, and her son came home from school. He came running in the house, and he was able to communicate a little bit, and he was like, crystals, crystals, like crystals. And he wanted them, and he took them, and he ran to his room, and she looked, and he had lined them up, and he was laying next to them because he said they were living and they all had a frequency. And now his room is filled with all of these rocks and crystals that resonate with him. So I think that there is absolutely something to it. And Shekina, I think you touched on it when you said these crystals are evolving. But I think that the reason that we're able to, when somebody like you is able to hear them, and Megan, somebody like you is able to hear them and feel them, is because we are also evolving. And I think that that's why things in the pyramids in Egypt are being uncovered right now, because we've reached a level of ascension in our awakening process that is allowing us to reach, read, interpret, intercept information that we previously could not hear, reach, touch, understand. So I'd love for you guys to speak to that.
Absolutely. We're at that frequency. It's like both. We can experience more of the crystals because we're at that level, because we've evolved to that level. Megan, you were just sharing about that, like that had evolved with the crystals, and we're evolving. And absolutely right now, I believe that the elements, and Megan talks about this too. Well, we both talk about it, but Megan talks a lot about the evolution of water and what's happening with that and how extraordinary that is. And in our groups that we've had, the Heaven on Earth groups, we've really touched in that, because that's the message. Some of the messages, Megan always gets amazing personal messages, for everyone, but she's getting this very powerful, significant, profound message about the water.
Megan, what's the water?
Yeah. And so we've been working with that, with the water, in our groups, our Heaven on Earth groups, because I see that, because we're evolving and the water is evolving. So we can experience the water more consciously, I believe, than we ever have. We can do things with the water that we've never been able to do, that we're at this place that we can. And that also goes with all the elements. So, but the water is more like a very interdimensional, and it's very tangible, the water, but so are the crystals. So we're at that space that we can use these crystals can really help us to evolve. I feel that the crystals have manifested in this way. And from this very special place, I mean, the Sedona vortex, it is powerful here. And here they have got that energy. Here we have a history of phenomenon of the spirituality. Here we have a history of seeing the crystal city of lights. I mean, we have there's a history that's gone back for decades. I don't know, since the 70s, since the 80s, people have seen the crystal city of light. It's in many books. It's documented in many books. Many people have seen the crystal city of light. However, there's an evolution, there's an awakening that's taking place, and we're at that space. So these crystals are calling out to us because they can help us. And we are at that level as well. And there's so many uses. And I love that story that you shared about that being, because this being was not indoctrinated with any kind of prejudice or anything about anything. To me, this being was like a pure being.
Yes.
Pure. And he felt the essence of these beings, of these crystals, and what they are. I mean, they're here to serve us, to help us, and to help our own evolution. And our bodies are, we talk about that we're expanding in our light bodies, our auras, our crystal bodies. And I believe the crystals are helping us to do that, because something happens when they're in our field.
Well, Megan, if we're made up of like 93% water, it makes sense that the water frequency is also evolving the way that the crystals are. So will you explain to us what you've been shown from heaven that water is, and what we're supposed to be doing, and how we can work with it?
Sure. I can give you like a little bit because it goes on, but I'm actually developing something right now with water
I had no idea.
that heaven has given me, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. So here's the thing: they showed me in a meditation recently. I don't know, maybe a month ago, I think. The beginning the beginning of time. And so what it was that it was, I'll call it the universe because that's essentially what it is, but it was all black and it was filled with air pockets. And there was a feeling. Okay, it all started from a feeling of love. And it was the most powerful feeling of love that had ever been felt by the creator, because it was only the
It
creator.
just gave me goosebumps all over my whole body. Like my hair is standing up. I don't know if you can see that on camera. Probably not, but it's what.
Yeah. And when he felt this incredible heat rise in terms of the temperature of love that he was feeling in that moment, it created a sweat bead. And that sweat bead fell from the deepest crevice of the universe and fell down and just started to spread. And it created what we would look at and go, oh, that's a body, a human looking body. And the water kept just reproducing all over itself, and it went out through the fingers, the feet, and everywhere. And there was a seed in the stomach area, what we would know the stomach area, and it got pushed through with the water, and then that seed split, and everywhere, everything was just being created like this. And it was just like everything became alive. So every single thing that we do and that we are interconnected with all began with water. But before the water, it was only love. And so I asked our creator, I said, so what is it? I mean, everybody wants to know what's the creation, the very beginning, right? And he said to me, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. What you need to know, you humans, this was the gist of it. You humans need to quit trying to figure it out and having the right answer and having this right answer and having this right answer. And he's saying, understand that it all began with a feeling. And that feeling was love. And it took a whole new direction for me. And while I was in Hawaii with my son for Christmas, I was woken up one night in the middle of the night, and I heard a male voice. I mean, nobody could have woken me up. I was hiking all day and driving around the island with my son, so I was exhausted. And I was woken up to a voice that said, Romu. And my eyes just woke up, and I thought, okay, that was huge. I better pick up my phone and write it down. So I did. And then I got up to pee, as a matter of fact, and I came back. And I think it's funny because when I laid back down in bed, I said to heaven, I go, okay, so what does Romu mean? And clear as day, they said, advancement of water. And I went, whoa, okay, I have no idea what this means. And I have to get up early, and I'm going to another part of the island tomorrow. But I wrote down on my phone again. It has since developed. And the only way that we can advance water is with our intentions and prayer. And Dr. Emoto, which I'm embarrassed to say, but it took me 6 months to order his book, his water book that he wrote. And I just ordered it 2 nights ago. I have another doctor, Dr. Pollack, who I have his book as well on water and talking about the easy essential zone. I think it's the essential zone. I can't remember what I was reading. But anyway, there's different aspects of water that have been broken down. But what I'm sharing with you now is that in order to advance water, every single one of us has to work on this as the new reality. The new reality is understanding that not only are you water, everything intergalactically, everything throughout the universe, but what we have in common is hydrogen. And so I can't remember the breakdown. I have a little written down, but there's a breakdown. And it's like it's getting more and more powerful. And I believe tying the water in with the crystals, for example, and NDEs, I'd like to point this out because, quite honestly, I'm kind of like, okay, I can talk about my NDE and I'm happy to share the story because that's what God wanted me to do. But because of how people can respond, and not all the time, but there are times when I've noticed people get really negative about what it is that I'm saying. It doesn't make my story any less true. Okay. So what I have now decided is that with the information that I have received from heaven in not only my NDE, but all of the out-of-body experiences that I had from the end of 2012 to the beginning of 2014, where heaven kept pulling me up. And 95% of the time it was in heaven. 5% of the time it was in the clouds, where I either met with God or God and Jesus, or Jesus and Archangel Michael, or just Archangel Michael. They would pull me up into the clouds and they would give me information, and I would have these conversations and experiences with them. And there's an interesting experience that I had, if you want to hear it, with God, who gave me orders, but that doesn't tie in with the water necessarily, but it ties in with faith and listening to your inner self. Okay. So it is actually crucial for everybody to learn. But getting back to the water, if we as NDEers, okay, if we collaborated and said, you know what? It's okay. We've all had different experiences and they're all incredibly powerful and important. They didn't come in the same way because we're not the same. So like in my situation, because it came, atheism came from a rape, I remember saying to God, in my mind, I said, if there is a God, because I was questioning it. Okay. And then I just became like, no, it's not even real. But I did say a few times in my 20s, I thought, if there's a God and heaven and all these angels that the Catholic Church raised me to believe, like they keep telling you all this, I never had any proof. So why am I going to believe? If that's real, you're going to have to give me proof. Oh, and did they ever? I mean, holy God, walking into that temple when everybody was seated at the table, I had no idea what I was walking into. But the moment that my foot hit that doorway is when I felt a love that I have never felt in my entire life. I'm not trying to segue and, I go off into tangents and I know I do. So I am. But what I'm trying to say is that all of the near-death experiences are to come back. Okay, because there are a lot more that are happening now. A lot more. And the reason for that, and the reason why people are talking about it more, I believe, is because love needs to be understood. It's an energy. It's not a religion. And it cannot be compartmentalized in a form. Okay. And saying it in that way, it'll help you to understand what I'm trying to say, tying in the crystals. So with the NDEs and love, we have a responsibility. And some people, I get it, because Shekina and I last year, we went to the Ions and it was fascinating. And, I remember hearing people sharing how they just weren't at that place yet where they felt comfortable because of their upbringing, because of their religion, because of their families, the society, whatever it was, they didn't want to be rejected. And so what I found to be so sad was that, we are in 2025 and we still haven't figured it out. So this whole awakening that's happening has to do with the energies of a group, we'll say. We'll just use that word. So there's a group of NDEers. Now you look at crystals and just think of this. If the crystals weren't broken off and put into all of the crystal stores throughout the world, can you imagine if you programmed them? I mean, they're already being used in computers and watches and in our brain. Okay. So if you programmed them energetically with love. Could you imagine what these crystals could help do to the collective and for the collective? And if we as a humanity understood what we are doing with our thoughts, and if we are taught, and this is the other thing that I'm working on right now, is developing this whole structure of learning. And if we are taught the love frequency and understanding what love is, I mean, literally understanding, it's not, the Hallmark card. It's not the, oh, hey, I love you. It's not that. It's so much deeper and it's so multi-layered. So if this is understood and you think about water, okay, getting back to Dr. Emoto and Dr. Pollack, and there's other doctors, I can't remember their names, but I've been looking at their names and looking at their information, and it's fascinating to me because what they're all trying to say is that water can be programmed.
Right, which is what Emoto showed with the words. So we want to explain for people who may not be familiar with it, what happened with these words on the water?
Well, I don't know much about it except to say that like he'd frozen some of the water and he'd also talked to the water. So when he spoke positive things like the word harmony or the word love, the water would respond. Okay. And the water would respond with beautiful symmetry in the photograph that he would take. And when there were words such as hate and whatever negativity that he threw at the water, that water responded with a chaotic symmetry in it, in the picture. And then when it was frozen, it held that energy, right? I mean, think about how powerful that is. So if we were all, I mean, this is the one thing that, because I've gotten visits from a turtle, I've gotten visits from a mermaid since the whole water thing in Hawaii. I mean, like all of this water stuff started happening in my life. And what they're trying to say is respect the water. You have to start praying for the water. And so there's a whole thing, and it just goes on and on and on. But the water is alive. And so for science, we look at water as, it's tangible, like Shekina was saying earlier, and it is. And we looked at it as a necessity to live because in truth, that's the one thing we cannot live without. We can't. There's no way. So if we would revamp how we look at water and how we look at what we're doing in our world and utilize the water and the power within, oh my God, this whole world is going to change. It is going to change. So there is an awakening going on. And this is, I hear people talking about 3D, 5D. I don't know about the Ds. All I know is that people are awakening to something where they feel a shift that is so strong because of, if you turn on whatever social media or you look at whatever you're looking at of what's going on in the world, they're not talking about love. Okay. So it's unfortunate because what they're doing is they've been programming and programming and programming for many years now of how we are to think. And so if people would take to heart what it is that they're thinking and tie it in with shifting how they think, they can help bring up the energy level that is on Earth currently. And if we were to look at the group of NDEs, the entire world that is water, and I think it's like 71 or 73% water. And then you look at every crystal. Could you imagine if we were all in sync? And it's possible. It is possible. But people have to want to learn how to shift into the next trajectory of our lives. Because I was told in one of my, a channel that I did for somebody a year ago, literally a year ago, this woman had just had a baby who was only a few months old. And heaven wanted her to know that if her son was not raised to who he is because he was very different. So I was getting into how he was different, and she could see some of the behaviors, and she was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And heaven said to her, if your son and the generation being born in 2025 do not evolve, then humanity will dissolve, basically, will become extinct. So what does that mean, right? So why should we care? Well, if you're doing the work and you're trying to help humanity understand what we're really here to do, and we're really here to keep the love vibration alive on this planet, according to my NDE and all my OBEs, our job is we came here as angels and archangels, and we are to facilitate love on this planet, and we are to protect love on this planet at all cost. And that is not the primary programming of what's going on in humanity. So it breaks down into so many, it kind of like, it's almost like, it's Pandora's box. And so you open up one thing and you think about water, and then water translates into something else. But it's all tied to the power of love, and our job as angelic beings from heaven. This is what we're here to do on every planet. I mean, there's life on every planet. So they all agreed, oh yeah, okay, we'll go in and looking however they go in and look. I mean, it was like, I described it as the bar scene of Star Wars. So
Right.
and so they're all protecting love on their planets, but some have not remembered. Some have not remembered. There's a planet that's a neutral planet, and neutral is not good. It's not bad, but it means that you can be swayed and pushed if pushed hard enough to believe in one way or another. But with
Shekina, does this line up with what you believe water to be also?
Well, it's interesting that we both got the water information. It happened all at the same time.
But separately for each of you, right?
Separately, but we all started getting the water messages. And there were other women that were getting the water messages. So for me, I'm going to share about the water.
So I will say what Shekina was just saying. There is another woman who reached out to me, actually 2 women, after I had this experience in Hawaii. One woman, about a week later, was woken up in the middle of the night to a dream, quote unquote dream, but they're always messages from heaven when they come in this really, this strong. And she was told, you are love, and her soul, your soul is love, and her soul was water in her dream. And so I thought that was pretty magnificent. And then there was another woman who told me, I said, I just got this visit from heaven a week ago about water. And she said, oh my God, you too? I said, what do you mean? You got one too? And she says, well, my friend Kim, she got a message about water too. And she was told that she has to go move to this location because there's water there. And I thought, oh my gosh. Now, what's also interesting is that I know that they are of a religious belief, a strong religious belief. I'm of a strong spiritual belief. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. But we're being given messages of water. And what Shekina was going to share, I can't share for her, but she got a very strong message around water as well. And we were discussing it together, and it was extraordinary. I'm like, okay, water is it. 2025 is about water. Okay.
Wow.
Well, the world has to shift right now. Wake up, smell the couscous, and drink water, and talk to your water is what I'm saying. So like when I talk to my water, as I'm watering the plants, I'm asking that heaven.
Oh yeah. But talking to the plants and talking to the water and helping infuse the water to water the plants. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, and I'll do it for my dog. I do it for myself for the water that I drink. I say, you are love, or I just say love. And then it translates into the water. And so I want to be a part. And when I take a shower, I am praying all the time that the water that comes out of the faucet, I ask that as it goes back into the drain, into the earth, it cleanses the energy of all of the pipes that it connects with, and that it comes up through the earth as the highest and holiest frequency of love that it was created as.
Wow.
A feeling. So I want it to proliferate as the frequency to help everyone, because love divides no one.
That's beautiful. Love divides no one.
Yeah.
A lot of truth in that.
Yeah.
We need Shekina to come back. There she is.
Okay.
My computer just shut down.
That's because you NDEs are so doggone powerful. You're always messing with the electronics.
I don't understand why it did that. I mean, I don't have an old computer. It's like a really.
It's energy. And think about how like these conversations are so powerful. So Megan just was sharing that you had a really amazing experience with water. Do you want to describe what happened to you?
Yeah, so we all got the connections with water at the same time. And I was getting about the water, and I was told to sing to the water. So what I do is, so when I water like my plants, I take the water and I have it in a container, and I sing to the water. So I sing to my water and I bless my water before I take it in. So, and I also had, and Megan told me that it would happen because she connects to heaven. And I also had the water speak to me as well through song and give messages. And so I sang through water how she came through, and I through a transmission. And so I put it on YouTube, and it's also her message about water, but it comes from the sacred divine feminine. So what I do with the water is in the morning, I hold my water, so you can hold your water. And what you can do is you can purify the water first, because water has been through a lot. So you can take your hands, and anyone can do this. You can, just hold the water, and then you can purify the water. And so you feel that it's being purified, and you just put your intention on the water. And how I do it is I put my intention from the bottom up, and I just put the energy, and I bring it up, and I purify the water. I purify the water. I purify the water, and I see it being purified. And when I feel that the water is purified, then I bless the sacred living waters of life. I bless the waters to the sacred living waters of life.
You have the most beautiful voice. Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. And it almost made me want to cry when you did that.
So you can hold the water. You can sing if you want. You don't have to sing. But because I came back to sing, and the frequencies of the miracle frequencies of the light, I was asked to sing, but you can just hold it and say the prayer and bless the sacred living waters of life. And then you drink it. And then that blesses your waters. So that's what I do with the water. And you can go, and Megan has beautiful prayers of what to do with the water as well. So we both have different ways to bless the water.
Yeah, this conversation has been so amazing. As for the people who are watching, like, you guys have been like, share this and share that and share that, like, so much information. People are gonna have to go back and watch it twice. But I want to give you each a chance to tell people where to find you. I will link in this video the each of your NDE interviews that we did together so that people can listen to those. But Megan, I'll let you go first. So tell people how they can find you, work with you, and what you've got going on.
Okay, so they can go to conversationswithmegan.com and go to my website. I do channeling for people, messages from heaven. I only connect to heaven and I know who's talking to me. And I also teach the structure of love, which is what I'm talking about in terms of love and water. And there's a whole process there. And there's something else. I'm working on another book right now. So there's a book that I just finished the chapter I co-authored, and it's going to be released on June 28th, called The Ways to God. So in that chapter that I did, I talk extensively about water. I still don't put everything in it because I went over, like it was supposed to be, 4,500 words or something. I don't know. I went over that. So great chapter. And then they're like, amazing.
Oh, I see. So it's a collaborative book where you've each done a segment, and it's not you with the whole book. It's you've contributed up to the book.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And then I'm working on a book myself called The Structure of Love that I was supposed to have done in my mind by now. Okay. But I am going to have it done this year. I've started it. I've been working on it and I just have to finish it. But it definitely ties in more clarity on water and love. So, because that's what the whole thing is water and love. So
Beautiful. Okay, Shekina, where can they find you?
So go to my YouTube channel if you want to experience the music and the sound. There's many transmissions there. I'm also on Spotify, and it's Shekina Rose. So if you have Spotify, so you can stream the music, you can go to YouTube and just hear the music. And I do have a new release, the Seraphim transmissions, the Seraphim angels. They have come in, and I have very beautiful 6 transmissions. That's my latest CD. And you can also experience that music with the crystal of light music on an energy sound bed with the crystals. So I do that here in Sedona. I give private sessions where I read, I tune, I atone through the frequencies. I give soul readings. I help with whatever situation that it is. I do sessions over the phone as well, consultations and connections and activation. And go to ShekinaRose.com. That's my website.
Beautiful.
We're going to have our Heavens on Earth group here.
Tell us when you meet in those groups in Sedona so people can, look it up and figure out when they could attend if they're going to be in the area.
It's always the second Saturday of the month, Saturday. And it's from 12 to 2. And it's
Whatever Arizona time is. So maybe
Yes.
it's different times of the year compared to other people.
And it's at Celio Connections. It's Heaven's Connections in Sedona.
Excellent. Oh my gosh, you guys, this was so much fun. I feel so blessed to be able to spend time with you, to have a connection where we can have a conversation like this. And I want to thank each of you. Thank you so, so much for your part in what you are doing to help raise the vibration of the collective consciousness and to share all these tips so that people can do this and help to contribute as well in their way. So thank you so much for what you're doing.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having both of us. Thank you, Megan. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
And of course, this show is absolutely nothing without each and every one of you who tune in. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the energy that you send our way. And thank you so much for watching.